Hello, everybody. My name is Wilbur, and welcome to the first official Pop Culture Appreciation Club podcast. It's a podcast now, and I'm here with my two good friends. I'm here with Chris.
Hello.
And Divine.
Hello again.
So this was just going to be a YouTube thing, but I've decided it's another podcast to do, but it's going to be the most frequently infrequent podcast because we're just going to make episodes whenever something cool happens in the pop culture world. And the Mandalorian season 2 has wrapped up this weekend. We watched the last episode all together, but we'll get to that episode in a little bit. But we're going to go through all of season 2 and all the cool things that happened in this season. It was a fantastic season. I loved it. So we're going to start with episode 1. My boys, set on Tatooine. We got bloody Timothy Oliphant as Cobb Vanth. I think this started off the season fantastic, didn't it? Not Divine?
It was fucking excellent. It started off and ended great. It's just so good. And I don't think there were things that were overlooked either. I think basically everything they introduced in every single episode, they actually covered in some detail in terms of, well, maybe not a certain character's return. We'll get into that later. But I think every tiny detail they either kept secret and kept hidden until like a later time, or they actually covered it to make sure that the audience was aware. But yeah, it started and ended fucking excellent.
100%. Like I know season 1 was fantastic, and this season took it up a notch. Chris, what did you think of Cobb Vanth and Timothy Oliphant? I think I was hoping he would come back. Spoilers, he doesn't come back, but what did you think of Cobb Vanth?
I loved it. I love Timothy Oliphant. He's a champion. There's a lot of he does a lot of good westerns, and even like what's it, Justified, and was it Deadwood?
Deadwood, yep.
Deadwood. They're both great shows. I love when I saw him, I was like, oh shit, man!
Yeah, same.
It's fucking awesome. And realistically, that whole first episode was just so good for me.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, it's just, well, there's just something about that mixing of Western sci-fi that just hits the spot, man. Like the hero of the, they're walking through Tatooine, and it's reminiscent of like an old shithole Western town, but you see the sci-fi elements obviously, and the clink of like spurs, and the blasters, man. It was just like, I feel like I could take a whole season of just hanging around Tatooine and just fucking being a sci-fi Western TV show or something, because I loved it.
They could definitely do that. And I think, it's very reminiscent of the old, like, Clint Eastwood Westerns, how, the man with no name, he'll just come in and just, like, dominate. It was really cool. So, Cobb Vanth, you first see him in Boba Fett's armor. Divine, did you think this was actually Boba Fett, even though he was, like, very slim?
No, I saw the armor and I kind of realized that it was somebody else in it.
Yeah.
Like, straight off the bat. But that also still gave me the hint of, okay, is he alive or is he dead? Because I wasn't sure if maybe, like he actually did die on the Sarlacc and just somebody had grabbed the armor or somebody found it after, body.
That was my first thought.
So I kind of saw him and was like, oh, fuck. And then I was like, no, that's not him. He doesn't sound like him for one. And we never saw Boba take his helmet off either in the original 4, 5, 6, or 5 and 6 rather. So
negative.
I kind of figured it wasn't him, but either way, seeing the armor and especially the paint job they did on it to make it look actually like worn down and just degraded. The attention to detail is so good.
It looks like it was from the original series. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So skipping a little bit ahead, Chris, is it Crate Dragon? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, pretty sure. Crate Dragon.
How badass was that thing? That was so cool.
It was actually really cool because there was a lot of that, like, it felt to me when I watched that episode that they appreciated more of the expanded universe, because there was a couple little KOTOR references in there that I really enjoyed as playing those games when I was a kid. And then, I mean, you saw how big this thing was, and it was pretty awesome. Like there was not a second there where I watched that or I was like, oh, that looks shit. or it seemed like they obviously put a lot of effort and probably put the money there too to make it look really good on TV. Probably the best TV monster I think I've seen, realistically.
Oh, the CGI on the dragon was amazing. They took it down, but Divine, right at the end of that episode, Tamura Morrison as Boba Fett. He's got the Tusken Raiders coat on. He's got a big old sniper rifle. Did you squeal like a little girl?
Oh yeah, 100%. I screamed. Yep.
That was insane.
I'm positive that I woke Kirk up and he was genuinely concerned for my well-being.
He's like, Pa, what's happening? Oh, just Boba Fett's back, dog.
Dude, I screamed during every single episode of this season. It didn't even matter. It was the first one.
It was so
Every
good.
single episode, I was either, well, I mean, I guess maybe not the last one because we were all watching it together, but every other episode, I was definitely screaming.
I screamed a lot with Grogu every time he popped up. So episode 2, Mando starts transporting the frog lady in her eggs for some weird reason. And I got a few notes here. Grogu, well, you find out his name later, but we're just going to call him Grogu. Grogu, Baby Yoda, the child, eating the eggs. Chris, how adorable was this? It was so freaking adorable.
I think it was, realistically, it was super dark. Like, it was just eating babies.
But in a cute way. Look how cute he was.
But I suppose he's like young, and there was probably no connect. I think at the end of that episode when they started, or was it in the next episode when they started to hatch? I think he obviously realized.
He's like, oh no, oh no,
oh no. But I think it was hilarious. Realistically, you're like at every point when he was turning around and he's looking at the tank, you're like, no, stay away from the tank, eating all the babies.
And he's just like, bloop, right in his mouth.
Yeah, but it was good shit. It was good shit.
And the other cool thing about episode 2 was the Divine. How do you say these big giant ice spiders' names?
The ice spiders are called Krykna.
Krykna.
Like Krykna.
Now we had the crate dragon, and now we've got these big giant ice spiders. Man, 2 episodes, 2 big monsters. Divine, how cool were these spiders? They were so cool.
They were fucking cool. And as you listened to in the other episode I talked about Star Wars, those were actually in the original concept art for episode 5. Yeah. So
yeah.
when Luke was going to Dagobah to look for, I guess he wasn't. Yeah. When he was going to Dagobah, the Krykna, essentially he was actually supposed to encounter those in the in the cave that he went down.
Oh, not the Yeti?
No, he wasn't. Well, that was on Hoth.
Oh yeah.
When he goes to Dagobah and he's looking for Yoda, he was supposed to encounter the spiders in like the cave thing that he went down when he like saw the vision of Vader there, and then when he hits Vader's helmet, he can see his own face underneath it. That's when he was supposed to encounter them in the original concept art for episode.
Oh, what would have that looked like back in the early 80s?
Oh god, it would have looked fucking awful. It would have looked awful.
It would have been charming. But yeah, those ice spiders are cool, and the way the spider eggs, opened up, it was very alien-like. It was really cool. Mm-hmm. We move on to episode 3, and this is where we get our first look at Bo-Katan. From I believe the Clone Wars series. I'm not too familiar with this series. Chris, did you watch this series at all?
Bits and pieces. I mean, I've been told obviously that it gets much better as it goes on.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm almost 30, and I mean, I don't know how long it's been out for, but I was never a kid when it came out, and when it originally launched or came out, whatever. I tried to watch it. It didn't pull me. It felt like it was definitely a show aimed at little kids.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, I've heard it gets a bit darker towards, as it goes on, which is probably something worth. Now that I'm kind of reinterested in Star Wars, might be worth going back to. But I have obviously kind of read the bullet points of the series.
Yeah.
So I was pretty excited to see her show up. It's always good to see. I suppose you wouldn't call Clone Wars expanded universe, but it's always good to see characters who haven't been in real life medium, make it to the silver screen, small screen, whatever you want to call it.
Hell yeah. And then we got one big person coming to live action in a few episodes later. I know, Divine, you're watching the Clone Wars with Bo-Katan. Do you like her as a character?
Yeah, well, I actually haven't gotten to the part where she shows up yet. I don't know exactly which season she shows up. I know she's in it. But in like a general character, so she is in season 1, you guys remember when there was like a flashback of Mando and he was young and he was being picked up by like another group of Mandalorians.
Yep.
So when he was rescued rather. So Bo-Katan is the leader of a group called the Night Owls, and she was a lieutenant in the group called the Death Watch. And the Death Watch was the group that saved Mando when he was a kid from Clone Wars. But Death Watch was considered a terrorist group because they didn't necessarily follow Mandalore's rules. But she's not really in the Clone Wars seasons yet. I think I'm only in season 2. The episodes go pretty quick, so I don't know. Maybe I'll see her soon. But other than that, I think using the same voice actor from Clone Wars and bringing her into live action was.
You can cut out the end there. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
And he's gone.
Okay. I don't know what happened. Yeah, using the same voice actress for the digital version and bringing her into live action was a move by Disney, in my opinion.
Yeah, hell yeah, it was pretty cool. And great performance as well. The only cool thing I'll quickly go over in this episode is the captain of the ship they take over, where he just like shoots the pilots and then like they break into the cockpit and then he just shoots himself. I'm like, holy crap, that's brutal. Episode 4, not too much happening like story wise. I guess there's one big thing story wise. It was a very good episode, as they all are. One thing I just want to point out, Grogu steals that biscuit from that kid. Freaking adorable, because he uses the Force and steals the little biscuit from that kid because he wouldn't give Grogu the damn biscuit.
Did it look like a space macaroon to anybody else?
Like a space macaroon, yeah.
I was like, is he just eating macaroons? What's going on here?
I wonder if they call them space macaroons. Moon pies.
Moon pies.
The big thing, lore and story-wise, was when they broke into that facility and then they found out that they want the child for his blood for potential cloning purposes and have been using test subjects. This was a pretty big thing, Divine. I'll go to you because you probably know more lore about this. Was this, maybe people are saying this is like a Palpatine Snoke kind of cloning thing that sort of leads into the new series? Do you reckon that's it?
I think it is. I think it's probably Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni trying to kind of wrap everything up with a nice little bow on top, personally. But yeah, because the immediate vibe I got when we saw that scene, especially just seeing the stuff, I guess the disfigured whatever they were in the Bacta tanks, the music that you hear is very like Sith-like and ominous, and immediately, and I brought this up, immediately the reaction I had was, this sounds like the music that we heard in episode 3 when Palpatine is talking to Anakin about Darth Plagueis. It was the immediate reaction that I had. So I had to go back and listen to it a couple times just in case there were any additional audio cues in there. But yeah, I'm assuming that's what they're trying to do, and just kind of hint that there was a possibility that they were using his blood for cloning purposes. I would assume. I could be incorrect, but that's where I think they were trying to go with it.
I wonder if we'll ever see what actually happens. I kind of feel like if they're pointing to it now, that another series down the line might sort of bridge that gap between now and episode 9, I guess. Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic. You speak about I just want to talk about the music for a little bit, because throughout the whole season, they use a lot of music taken from previous Star Wars movies, TV shows, games, etc. Chris, did you notice this? Like, I guess Star Wars is, I think I said this before, Star Wars is one of the only franchises where every character kind of has like their own theme music. Do you want to talk about the music for a little bit and how good it is and how almost nostalgic it is?
I mean, there's a lot of Star Wars music that you hear and you instantly recognize. Like, you instantly recognize it. But I think there's so much now that, like, Divine picked up that sound cue during the back tank scene. I didn't pick that up, so I think because I suppose there's a lot. Yeah. But I mean, I will say that for season 1 and season 2, the sound design is on point. Like, just the crisp sounds, especially when it comes to any of the space combat.
Yes,
it's like they took that shit and just ramped it up. It's just so good. And then obviously you have in certain scenes the iconic music that you expect from Star Wars when, you know, whether it be Empire or other cues. I think overall, it doesn't get any better, realistically. There was just a lot of, you're sitting there and you're watching and, you know, Slave 1 flies in, or just the sound of the blasters going off. Just the general, I think just the general sound design, that whoever did that shit, man, that they need a raise, because it was quality you don't see on TV too often.
Give them a Nobel Peace Prize for awesomeness. Divine, I guess you feel probably the same way about the music, and just it's so cool how they, like, even that you know, episode 3 to this episode, the connection between the prequel series and the tanks, isn't that just so cool that they go back and they just put that in there, even though they probably didn't have to, but it's just like something to give like the super fans something to grasp onto. It's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah, and that obviously is, I mean, I guess it's, you know, considerable amounts of fan service, but I'm totally okay with it. Everything that they did in this season, music wise, effect wise, sound, and I looked into the budget, and I guess season 1 was about 100 million. So I don't know what it was for season 2, although it was obviously going to be a lot more detailed, so it was probably quite a bit more. But I mean, Lucasfilm and Disney, they have the money to do it. They probably could have spared a couple expenses and maybe spent a little bit more on occasion, but all the sound was incredible. And there are a lot of cues that later on that we'll go into that you pick up on too, and it really fucking hits you emotionally, man. It really does.
It's one of the you just hear that, you hear the music and it's like, oh man, my feels, because it takes you back to a certain scene. I personally love Mando's sort of theme. It's very Western. Also love Grogu's theme. It's, you know, that childlike. I think Grogu's got a few little themes or potential different, you know, light side or dark side. I think it's really good. It's just so minuscule. They didn't have to do it, but they did, and I love them. Thank you for something, Disney, you overlords. Episode 5. This is where we get our first look at Ahsoka Tano, played by Rosario Dawson. Chris, that first scene where she's in the forest, how did you feel? How excited were you?
Fuck me, man. It was like, I mean, obviously they talked about it and they built her up, and Dave Filoni directed the episode, so you know she was going to be there, but I expected a little bit. You know, like the bullshit you saw at the end of episode 7, where Luke's there for a second. I expected something like that. Yeah. Not like you cut the episode. Your episode opens up and there she is with those fucking sweet white lightsabers. I mean, I feel like the green and the blue was iconic, obviously, but then you just white. There's something about it. It's just awesome.
I guess it's cool to see something different too.
And she's just like, realistically, in the dark, the only thing you see is the lightsabers when she lights them and fucks some shit up and then just disappears back again. It was, I was like, oh, this is the Star Wars that I need. Like, I'm happy that the Mandalorian is a little bit more low key, not so focused on the Jedi Sith thing, because I think the Star Wars universe is huge, and there's obviously plenty of the stuff that goes into that doesn't revolve around their bullshit mythology of Star Wars, Jedi and Sith.
Yeah.
But sometimes just that little bit when you realize how fucking badass it can be, it's just that episode was one of my favorites of the season.
Oh, it was a fantastic start. And I also thought that she was just going to sort of rock up and start talking. And then when she's, going through from tree to tree and using the Force and just cutting dudes down. And I think that's like a bit of a Star Wars sort of trope with the lightsaber in the smoke. Divine, how did you feel about this opening scene?
Oh, I fucking loved it. I didn't think I don't think anybody expected that we were just going to dive right into it like that either.
No.
Like, we're just like, oh, well, okay, we're in the forest. We don't know what's going on. It sounds like there might be like some sort of siege, whatever. And then the wide shot where like the guy's running away. My first thought was, is it Imperials? Is it like the Empire? Who is this? And then the white lightsaber comes into frame, and then I screamed so loud. I may have made my neighbors very upset.
Like, what's that lady next door doing?
Yeah, honestly, that's an about correct reaction. But yeah, that was just to be thrown right into it. I was like, okay, all right, I'm down for this. Let's fucking go, Dave Filoni. Let's go.
Let's go. So Ahsoka and Mando meet up because I forgot her name. The evil lady wants Mando to take her out. They start talking, and then we find out the child's name is Grogu. Now, me personally, it's grown on me. It's just another name. At first, I was like, ew, yuck. But now it's like, it's just Grogu. Like, Chris, did you feel the same way?
Yes and no. I think there's parts of me that would probably always call him the child, because for a season and a half that's what he was called. But it's all I think his backstory has the potential to be super interesting.
Yes,
because even though he looks so young, he's
an old man.
He's been alive. Yeah, exactly. Like, he's older than Ahsoka herself. So he's been, there's a lot of stuff that he's been through that could really flesh out some more backstory, I suppose, and hint other things. So I think it was good to get a little bit of that backstory. That he was there. His name, and obviously, mind you, it's always one of those things where, well, you never saw him in the movies, but yeah. He was probably there in the background somewhere.
I was telling Divine about this video, this mashup of someone put of Anakin going in to murder the younglings, and like Grogu is just hiding behind a pot. God. Like, yes, hide, young one.
Hide, little Grogu. I mean, he's so small, could have just slipped out, no one even noticed.
Yeah, I love his like forehead wrinkles, but he's an adorable old man. It's like I feel like overall with this series and what Disney is doing, I think they're trying to certify the Star Wars lore, because really I wouldn't say it's been all over the place, but it hasn't really been like coherent in a way, especially with the newer trilogy. So I think with and the future series they're doing, they're gonna do 50 million of them. I feel like this is this is the concrete lore of Star Wars now, and I guess they're adding in more mystery, like what happened between Grogu being with the Jedi to getting found and stolen. There's such a gap. It would be cool to see what happens, and maybe there'll be a series out there that'll tell us. Divine. So Ahsoka.
Wow.
Ahsoka. Fuck me. I'm Australian as fuck.
This guy fucking Star Wars is everybody.
She fights that evil lady. I forget her name. And she demands to know where Grand Admiral Thrawn is. I kind of knew this wasn't going to be like a Mandalorian thing. Was this like a tease into her own series?
I think so, considering obviously at the investors meeting they announced that it was going to be a thing.
They announced it after this episode, by the way, as well.
Yeah. So I'm expecting it's either, maybe he'll be in season 3, maybe, but that's like a hard maybe, because The chick she was fighting was the magistrate of Caladan, which was the basically the town they were in on the planet Corvus. She was she's essentially like a big person in terms of the creation of the Imperial Navy, like actually manufacturing. So the tie-in with Grand Admiral Thrawn, I'm thinking, is a callback to something in Clone Wars, because I know Ahsoka and Thrawn have a little bit of an encounter in the animated series that I am yet to see.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure her stuff with Thrawn is in Rebels, not Clone Wars.
Oh, right. Yeah, Rebels with the other Jedi, Ezra. That's right.
Yeah, Ezra and Kanan.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we'll see. I'm expecting her own part of her own series. And somebody brought up to me, or I think I saw it online, because people were like, "Oh, who the fuck could play? Who could play Thrawn?" And I think somebody said maybe Mads Mikkelsen's brother could play Thrawn. And then somebody else the other day just had like a picture of somebody up and said, "Hey, how about this person?" It was Benedict Cumberbatch, and I was like, "Oh my god, that'd be amazing."
I don't think Benedict needs any more Disney money. Does Mads have a brother? Where is he?
I think
Lars?
he does. Doesn't he? Yeah,
Lars Mikkelsen. Yeah, I can see it happening.
Oh, he was
fucking Paint in Blue. He'll be right.
He was in
Ain't anyone blue.
he was in Sherlock. He was in the BBC show Sherlock.
He was.
Yeah. That's where I recognize him from.
Oh,
he
he
could
did
be a
that.
good choice.
He was also in The Witcher. He was the what's his name?
Yes.
He
was like the wizard dude.
one of the wizards. Yeah.
Stregobor?
in like
Yeah,
the first episode, Stregobor, yeah.
I know my Witcher lore. Not really. I'm just looking at the wiki. Yeah, I would like to see. Who would I like to see? I don't know. Someone said John Hamm. I'm like, that dude's buff as shit. It's too sexy. Can't be Thrawn.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, fantastic episode there. Episode 6. Oh, but in the episode 5, Ahsoka tells Mando to take Grogu to the ancient temple to connect with some Jedi. This is where we go to episode 6, where they arrive at Tython at the ancient temple, and old Mando puts little baby Grogu on the sitting rock, and he starts like, Super Saiyaning up. Chris, Slave One rocks in, and you're like, what the hell? Boba Fett's back, and he's with Fennec. Chris, how did this make you feel?
There's something about that sound, man. That's the thing with the sound design again. With that sound, and when you hear that, when Slave One just fucking come flying down and land, and it's just like, oh shit! you know it, and that's. It's good shit. It was good. Mind you, I will say, I've played a lot of the old Star Wars games, and even Star Wars: The Old Republic. I was a little disappointed with Tython. I wanted to see a bit more, because in the game, Tython's fucking awesome planet.
Yeah.
But I suppose, different mediums are not gonna. And in the game, Tython's like a home hub world. So, and this is obviously thousands of years later. But
yeah, fair enough.
Boba Fett arriving was definitely a key, a great moment in the series, because you always get that hit of nostalgia right when one of those big characters makes a comeback, or you just know. Because I never got the fact that everyone loved Boba Fett when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I feel like when I watched the original trilogy, he didn't fucking do anything for me. I don't know. Maybe everyone's like, oh, he's mysterious and he's cool. He looks cool, so he's probably cool. But he didn't really do much for me. But
now
the TV series, Mandalorian really took him and I feel like actually turned him into a badass. But Slave One will always be a cool ship. That's no matter who fucking pilots Slave One. Slave One is an awesome ship.
Oh,
so
100%. And the weirdest ship too. So Boba Fett comes in, he's like, oi mate, that's my bloody armor. He's not Australian, he's like, that's my armor. And then they make like a little thing like, oh, I'll help you protect the child. So they start like fighting these stormtroopers that come down to try and steal Grogu. Divine. This episode directed by Robert Rodriguez, by the way. How cool was that whole battle scene, that fight scene with Boba Fett and the stormtroopers and his big mallet?
Oh, dude, I was erect the entire time.
It was so good.
It was so good. It was so well choreographed, and to know that Tamura Morrison himself was doing all that shit was even better.
Yeah.
And he looked furious, and I don't know exactly what it was. Like, I don't know if he just had a general hatred for stormtroopers or what, but he kicked ass. And I think this episode really redeemed Boba Fett. And again, because like Chris said, he didn't really do much for me either in the original. Like, he was kind of cool, and I guess, yeah, I can agree that he was a little bit mysterious, but I mean, I
watch this episode.
Yes.
And come back to me.
Yes.
Can we all take a second to discuss what the fuck are the stormtroopers' armor made out of?
Yeah, we talked about that in another episode.
Is it fucking plastic? What?
Divine knows.
Like, it's just. Well, I think I read it's like plasteel or some shit.
Yeah.
In universe, but I mean, it was like they were wearing porcelain helmets. The way he was just smashing, like just tearing shit up.
Dude, he was
fucking
crushing their heads, their helmets.
It was nuts.
Yeah.
There's part of, I really love that because I read somewhere that the original gaffy sticks were kind of designed in inspiration with like the old Fijian war clubs.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously him being he's Maori descent, I think that's what they call the native New Zealanders. So I'm sure he probably really enjoyed that, using something that probably was inspired by that kind of culture and him just crushing stormtroopers' skulls in. So I really, that whole fight scene, fucking awesome.
Yeah, I think he said he really harnessed that sort of Maori war vibe when he did that scene. And I think the New Zealanders, the Maoris, and the just Islanders in general, when they get angry like that, that's scary shit, man.
Would it have been super law breaking for him before they get into a fight for him to break out into a haka?
Dude. I mean, now that you said that he hasn't done that, this season is now 9 out of 10. Imagine that. And the stormtroopers have to line up.
Mate, you have to be respectful. You have to watch.
The stormtroopers line up. They're holding each other's backs. Oh, my. Divine has no idea what we're talking about. Divine, I'll have to send you some.
No, I know what you're talking about.
I'll just send you some videos of the haka because it's cool, man. The haka's sick. I love it.
Oh, I've seen the haka. I've seen hakas before in sociology classes because we studied one from I guess it was just a game, like a match between two countries, and it was fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
It scares you, but at the same time you're like, wow, this is sick.
They always tend to do it at beginning of a rugby union game or a rugby league international game. The Australians or whoever else is their opponents, they just kind of stand there and watch. Yeah,
it's scary. It's scary when the Kiwis sort of get really close in their face. And you're like, oh shit, it's gonna be on. I love it. So good.
Yeah.
Give us more haka. Boba Fett hakas, man. Yeah, amazing fight scene. Unfortunately, little baby Grogu taken away up in the sky, but he looks freaking adorable as he's getting stolen. But before all that happened, there was that little screenshot that everyone saw of a shadowy figure in the background up on the Jedi stone thingamabob. And we sort of, I guess, is that who it is? I'm not gonna, I guess, is it Luke?
I suppose it could have been a force projection of some kind. I mean, you can't. I don't think they'll ever come out and officially say, yeah, that was Luke. He force projected himself, and they had a convo. But I mean, I suppose realistically, I think they're smart enough in the way they did it, where you could probably just say, yeah,
you assume
Luke, he force, but they communicated, because I think, skipping way ahead, in that last episode, he recognized him.
Yeah.
Before you even saw him, with the way his ears pricked up and he kind of he felt his presence. So I would say, sure, why not?
And he was adorable as he did that. Episode 7. This is when they break into that big old place with Bill Burr. Bill Burr's back. Is Bill Burr just a fantastic just a fantastic dude, Divine. Like, you hear his voice, and I always think of like F is for Family because that cartoon's amazing. Yep. But
me too.
Like, he was a bit of a dick in season 1, and there was a lot of stuff in this episode that sort of like made him less of a dick.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But no, it was great. It seemed like he had a little bit more humanity in this one.
Yeah.
They humanized his character a little bit because obviously he was ex-Imperial sharpshooter, and I kind of thought that there might have been a history between him and Cara Dune, because when he takes the last shot to blow up the Rhydonium, she kind of is like, wow, you know, like she does this quick glance, and you see her facial expressions. You're like, I wonder if there's some sort of negative history between the two. Like, maybe if he was a sharpshooter, maybe he like took out one of her friends or something like that. You know, you never know, because she was obviously she was part of the alliance on Alderaan. Yeah. So I thought there might have been a history there. They didn't go into it at all, but they humanized him a bit more because he, in that scene where he's basically toe to toe, just sitting down with the Imperial officer, you can just tell that he's pissed because the Empire thinks that they're doing so many things right. When Mayfeld's character, he's clearly lost people, and he didn't want to see by blowing up the rest of the Rhydonium and killing that guy, he didn't want to see the rest of the galaxy suffer because of it.
Like, he's deep down inside, he's actually a good dude. That like whole drinking scene was so good. It kind of reminds me of something sort of like a Quentin Tarantino scene where like it's literally just talking, but it's good dialogue. The camera angles are perfect, and it's just friggin' intense. And like the music sort of builds up, and I think the dude's name is Valen Hess, that commander guy, played by Richard Brake, who is like an extra in every single movie ever.
He's everywhere.
He's also he was the Night King in season 3 and
the original Night King.
4 and 5, I think.
Yep, the original.
The Night King that wasn't a fucking bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, that gets stabbed. Anyway, yeah, that whole scene was good, and I think Divine sent us a screenshot because Mando takes his helmet off to scan the thing, and the funny meme is, oh, we have your face. There you get all this secret information. All you need is a face. But the cool thing about this scene and that thing you sent us, Divine, was when Mando takes his helmet off, he's still looking around like he has his helmet on because he's lived with it basically all his life. Chris, did you notice that while he was doing it, or do you only notice it after Divine told us?
I'd love to say, yeah. I mean, I picked it up. I'm right. I'm that good. But I think you could notice he was a bit uncomfortable.
I thought he was just uncomfortable.
I think Pedro played it pretty well, but no, I didn't notice how. I had to go back and rewatch it afterward, and you notice how basically he doesn't use any peripheral vision. Whatever he's looking at, he turns his head to face as if he would with the helmet on. And I think that's amazing attention to detail, but I just didn't pick that up when I watched it the first time.
It's just another one of those things that they probably didn't have to do, but because they did, it just makes it 1,000 times better. Also want to point out the pirate dudes at the start trying to blow up their truck. That was a cool scene, man. Especially with Divine, especially with because he's wearing this like the stormtrooper suit, and he's trying to fight like he's in his Mando suit, but because the suit is absolutely pointless, he like takes a few bumps there. How cool was that?
It was awesome. It was and I didn't expect it to happen actually, but I also expected somebody else from Clone Wars to show up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So there is, and they show him very early on. His name is Hondo, and he's a Weequay. So he's actually the same species as the bartender guy that we saw in episode 1 of season 2, and he's basically like. It's hard to explain his affiliation. He's more of like a pirate, just like a general kind of gang member, I suppose. I legitimately expected him to show up because I believe the species was a Weequay, and they were all trying to blow up the Rhydonium. And obviously, I think they had their own motive, just as Mayfeld had his. because obviously it was an Imperial takeover of their planet. So it still humanizes them more as well, because they're just trying to, well, they're trying to save the galaxy. To be quite frank, they're just trying to make sure that nobody else suffers because of the materials that they have on their planet. Yeah, it was a sick scene. I didn't expect it to happen, but it definitely got me pumped up and really tied the episode up really nicely.
Yeah, it kind of felt bad for them. They're just trying to do the right thing, but Mando needs to save his baby. Damn borders.
I mean, they blew it all up anyways.
I think realistically also that whole fight scene, because they were using spears, obviously also set up that Mando knows how to use that Beskar spear that he got. And we're going to see him, and we're going to see him tear some shit up with that Beskar spear.
Well, that brings us to the season finale, episode 8. The only note I have here is Luke fucking Skywalker. So, because this is the freshest episode that we've seen, Divine, where do we start? Where do we start? So, the Mando has got his little ragtag gang of dudes together, and they're going in. They know where the ship is. They're going to take it over. Chris, Slave One, taking out those TIE fighters. Like he's trying to shoot their ship because they're going in with another ship, and he's missing on purpose. And as soon as those TIE fighters come out, boom, boom, dead. How good was that? I
mean, they definitely showed that Bobo's a boss, realistically. And I would have taken 10 more episodes of Mando Bros. Just tearing shit up. You know what I mean? Like that scene at the beginning when they walked into the bar and they're side to side.
Yes.
I was like, oh, fucking Mando Bros. Just give me some more of that shit, man. I would have loved that. Besides all the other shit, just a plain old bounty hunter series with them two teamed up. I mean, that'd be legit.
Mando Bros.
Give us a buddy cop movie of that.
Can I also, one thing that was because I rewatched the episode afterwards, that the whole bar scene at the beginning was a bit weird, because obviously because Bo-Katan doesn't, because he's a clone technically, so she obviously doesn't think of him as a real Mandalorian. And then they get into him and
Sasha Banks.
I can't remember her character's name. Get into a fight. And what universe do flamethrowing cancel each other's flamethrower out? Are they pleasant? It felt like Harry Potter, where they shoot the wands at each other and it just locks in. I was like, what the fuck? That's not how fire works.
Haven't you seen Pokemon, mate?
Yeah, the Dragon Ball Z, they got their fucking Kamehamehas locked in. I was like, okay. I mean, it looked cool, I suppose. I suppose that's what they were going for.
Yeah.
But good. I mean, realistically, the whole episode. If that's my biggest gripe about that episode, it was a fucking great episode.
9 out of 10. Flamethrowers and no hackers.
More hackers, obviously. More Star Wars hackers.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool when she noticed I've heard that voice 1,000 times, and I was like, how does she know who he is? And then it sort of clicked for me that, oh, duh, because of the clones, idiots.
Yeah, she fought in the Clone Wars, so
it was just just another cool thing. I'm like, oh yeah, even I got that. So big smarts for me. The infiltration of the ship was really cool, and we all noticed the lack of railings on the pathways.
It's just the Empire, their health and safety is just non-existent. It's not the first time either. It's not the first time either. How many people could have fallen through that, and then they're just fucked?
They're gone.
It's gone. You float off in space. You're dead.
It was good. I just loved it. It was one other thing I absolutely loved is when they're trying to capture that scientist, and the one pilot shoots the other pilot, and he's just like, ah. He's so over dramatic about it. I loved it.
That was his big scene. Why are you doing that to him? He thought he was nailed it. He's like, Mom, I'm gonna be in Star Wars.
I'm Star Wars, Mom.
Star Wars, look at me. Mind you, come on. Who, realistically, if you were any kind of actor, who wouldn't even just be a side character in a Star Wars TV show or movie?
I'd be a stormtrooper for sure.
Fuck yeah. If I'd have to show my face, I'd be a thick boy stormtrooper.
Yeah, I'd be thick boy trooper number 3.
Well, they're not all clones anymore.
They're normal people. So, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Divine. Dark Troopers.
Oh,
How badass are those dudes?
so fucking sick. So sick. And in terms of like the general history, I don't know too much about them, but I know that, and the cloning doctor, Dr. Pershing, said that these were phase 3. So there's phase 1, there's phase 2, there's phase 3. And at one point, I think it was phase 2, they were actually suits. It was like an Iron Man suit for somebody to operate them. And then they just realized that a human operator was not the way to go. So that's when they started actually doing research in terms of getting midichlorian blood to have them be force sensitive droids, essentially. But yeah, they were sick. I got an Iron Man vibe from every single one. They looked absolutely incredible. The detail was on point. I got a really hard, I think we all did, we got a very hardcore Terminator vibe from the last episode.
Yes.
When the thing is on fire and it's just kind of looking at Mando like, really, bitch? That's all you fucking got for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, those were they were sick. Absolutely sick. I wish we got a little bit more of them, to be honest. But I think the fight scene between that one that basically got through the doors and then the other one, yeah, it was sick. It was fucking sick.
Because they can pack a punch, and they were punching Mando's head into the wall because his armor is basically indestructible. That was crazy. I was like, oh, I feel a headache coming on.
See, now, is that where you think maybe a human in the suit would have been better? Because the droid was just fucking punching his helmet. I don't know if he just wasn't realizing, hey, I can't punch through the Beskar. Maybe I should just pick him up and fucking rip his arm off or something. Because obviously, you know, with how strong they are, it was just. I think the whole removing the human element out of it was stupid. Because it's like, what, they had, the Federation had droids, Jedi killed the droids, then the Empire had the clones killed the Jedis, and then now what, the Empire's gone back to droids, and Luke just fucking shits on the droids.
I guess there's no winning whether you have humans or droids.
Yeah, I suppose so. Everyone sucks.
Everyone sucks. Yeah, it was cool. Mando was getting absolutely dominated too until he speared it through the neck.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and then he also opened up the doors, and the rest of them floated out into space. And we're like, oh, okay, so they're not going to come back. And then they come back. They start flying back, like Iron Man.
It would have been super disappointing if they didn't come back. Could you imagine if they build up the Dark Troopers for that, since that episode on the cliff, and then you see why he fights one, and then that's it. They get wiped out in space. I was a bit, when he pulled that lever and they got shot out to space, I was disappointed.
Yeah, I'm glad and it was surprising that they came back. So it was awesome.
Does it say what they're made out of? Because there's so many different metals in the world. Because obviously it's not Beskar, because you know Luke's lightsaber carved through them, but it's obviously still strong enough that, unlike the fucking stormtrooper armor, that it blocks and reflects like laser bullets or whatever they're called.
I think it's called metal frick.
Yeah, it's called frick, and it's a rare metallic compound that is one of the few lightsaber-resistant substances known.
Obviously not resistant enough.
Yeah, definitely not enough.
They're gonna wait for phase 4 and 5 and 6. So they have the big battle, and Mando finds Gideon, and the bastard has the Darksaber just hovering over little baby Grogu, like, you prick. And then he's like, okay, you can have the child and I'll just go my way.
I think that's a credit to how good his acting was. I thought that's what was going to happen.
Oh,
I thought
good.
maybe he was like, oh, I can't beat Mando, so maybe I can bargain to get out of this. But no, he just fucking, it was like, you expected double cross, but somehow I also believed him as well.
The acting.
So, yeah.
Great acting. Yeah, then bam, double cross, and then they have I thought it was going to be a little bit longer, but I think the overall story-wise didn't need that. It was a pretty cool battle though, and it was cool seeing the the Darksaber heat up his spear.
The Darksaber was just fucking awesome in general.
Yeah.
Like because obviously the lightsabers have like a rounded blade, while the saber itself, when you see it go like on the side, it's almost just like paper thin, and just like a actual blade. I thought it was awesome, and especially when it makes contact with that Beskar spear, and obviously because its blade is thinner and probably more heat focused, like all the heat is more focused on a smaller blade, like how it's like heating up the spear. I thought maybe it might have been able to cut through it or something, because it was like, I was like, oh shit.
I thought it was going to split in two.
It was that whole scene I thought was actually pretty well done. Obviously he has the Darksaber, so he took it from because Bo-Katan had the Darksaber before him. So obviously he either defeated her in single combat, or she got into a bad situation and he had a whole platoon and she dropped it or something and he just took it. But I didn't think he was really going to beat Mando. Like, it seemed like Mando always had the upper hand in that fight, whether or not he expected the double cross or not. I think he was never going to lose that fight.
Yeah, and then there was like, I've seen videos of maybe Gideon kind of lost on purpose for what was going to happen next. Divine, what did you think of this Gideon Mando battle? Because we've pretty much been waiting for this battle for 2 seasons now.
Yeah, I kind of I expected it to happen. The double cross especially was kind of sick, actually. I wanted that to happen. I didn't want Gideon to just walk away. I was like, well, that's fucked. Now we're not going to know what he's going to go do. He's going to be like, hey, Grand Admiral Thrawn, bad news. Yeah, so I was glad that they actually had that fight and that scene. But I think Gideon also maybe knew exactly what he was doing. Yeah. Part of me thinks that he may have even lost on purpose. I'm not sure, because he knows the rule about the Darksaber,
which is stupid. That whole thing is stupid.
It's so, and I looked into it a little bit
because she was given the Darksaber in the first place. She didn't win. So Bo-Katan didn't win that Darksaber. Sabine just gave it to her. Sabine found it and she just gave it to her, and she took it. That's how that went.
Right. So I'm not entirely sure in terms of why there's a reason, but it's Mandalorian custom that one would only obtain the Darksaber by defeating the previous owner in combat, per the wiki site. So if they had claimed it any other way, so like, for example, if Bo-Katan did just take it from Sabine Wren, then their claim to the Mandalorian throne was considered illegitimate, which proves, or which makes sense in terms of why Bo-Katan essentially didn't want Gideon to fight Mando. She wanted to fight him herself. And I think you see that even more because when Mando walks in the room and he's holding the Darksaber, she looks fucking pissed. Yeah. She looks pissed off.
Because
I think that's probably why.
Because she was like, "Oh, Gideon is mine," and I think she said it like maybe a few times to like really be like, "Gideon is mine," and now we sort of know. I also think that, I mean, I saw that she got given the Darksaber in the first place, and now they're like, "Oh, I have to fight for it." I don't know if it's like, I don't think it's like a rule that if you don't fight for it, it like doesn't work for you. It's just kind of like it's like
you didn't win it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like a custom. It's like something with prides. I don't know.
I suppose also it probably has stings a bit more because she was given it and then she lost it,
and now she's like giving it again.
But that whole thing with Mando and Bo-Katan gave me Jon Snow and evil Queen Daenerys feels. Like she wants to rule Mandalore. And then you got Mando, who now has the Darksaber and has no interest in ruling Mandalore. And now they're gonna have to fight each other or something.
Wait, I've totally gone blank. Does Mando keep the Darksaber?
He does.
He does, yeah. He still has it when the episode ends.
Ooh. Maybe Bo-Katan goes evil.
Evil.
So they have Gideon. He's all captured. He's like, haha, I've planned. He didn't say that, but he's like, I've planned this all along, which is kind of the vibe he got, which Divine was talking about. And then the Dark Troopers come back. They fly in. Zoom, zoom, zoom. They find the room. They close the blast doors, and these dudes just start punching it. And that shit's scary. I would be terrified. They're all like waiting for battle, and then all of a sudden, boom! TIE Fighter comes in. No, X-Wing comes in.
X-Wing.
Oh my
yeah.
god.
Solo
Red 5.
Solo
So
X-Wing.
it's the same ship that he lost in Dagobah. They like landed in the swamps of Dagobah, isn't it? That's supposed to be.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
And,
Yep.
It's funny because one of them says like, just one X-Wing. What's that gonna do? And then
It's funny too because you can pause it when it comes through, and you can zoom in, and you can see R2 on the back of the X-Wing, which I didn't
oh,
realize.
can
yeah.
ya?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Oh no. Well, yeah, because
Well,
when
I
it
mean-
came in, and then a hooded figure comes out with a lightsaber, and you're only seeing it in a black and white through the security cameras.
Yeah.
Well, for me, and I think for us, we didn't know who it was at first,
Right.
and then you see the green.
As much as it still makes the most sense, I didn't think they'd go there. I didn't think they'd bring Luke to the Mandalorian. As much as I fucking loved it, I didn't think it would happen. I didn't think they'd want to risk the de-aging software and the CGI that's still not obviously flawless. But they did, and it was fucking awesome. So
Yeah.
I'm glad realistically the way it turned out, I'm glad they did it because it was fucking cool. And I think everyone, myself included, went to see their episode 7, 8, 9, hoping to see that Luke reach his full potential. You know what I mean? And we just that never happened. So it was just like, 7, 8, 9 sucked. I don't believe they're not canon for me anymore. I just ignore those movies.
They're uncanon. Yeah,
One is
because
6 and Mandalorian, and that's it. There's no 7, 8, and 9.
Luke comes in, absolutely destroys these Dark Troopers, and I saw a side-by-side video of when Vader comes in
One scene.
and takes on those
yeah.
rebels.
Yes, that's exactly what it reminded me of.
Divine, how did you feel about this? Like, obviously you were trying your hardest not to squeal.
Yep. No, I thought the exact same thing. I thought it was Rogue One. Is very reminiscent of his father's combat style, and obviously there are a couple different for lightsaber fighting. So like there's I think it's Style 4 or something. I forgot exactly what the name is, but Anakin and Luke both use it, and it's hard to explain. It's one of those methods where they fight. You can tell it's using a lot of their emotion. But this one was very calculated, and he did a couple of the same moves. At one point in the security footage, he actually does the same move where he puts his lightsaber behind his back and then deflects a shot back at a droid. And you saw that in episode 3 in Revenge of the Sith when Anakin is on Mustafar and he's killing all the separatists. It's the same thing. He puts his lightsaber behind his back, deflects a shot, and it goes back and hits a droid. It was... It made me a little giddy. I was crying a little bit on the inside and the outside.
Oh, it was so cool, and it was cool to see a big old droid get force choked.
Yes, force crush. Actually, force crush. It's like something entirely different.
You don't see that too often with the Jedis. They don't really force crush things, but it was fucking awesome.
Yes.
Well, they force crushed my heart.
Aww.
With love.
I think. Well, force crush is a thing that I saw somebody cover, and it's kind of a gray area with Jedi. It's something. So I guess there was like a 2D Clone Wars at one point where like Mace Windu actually like force crushed General Grievous, and that's because he's a droid. So that's apparently like why he has the cough, so to speak. Apparently that's supposed to be the reason. So the gray area between Jedi is humans, no bueno. Living beings, no bueno. But considering it's a droid, it's different. It's a non-living thing is the gray area where it's okay to force crush it, so to speak.
You know who would force crush? Voldemort.
He definitely would.
He's the type of dude. So Luke comes in, he lifts up his hood, and as Chris said, we see a de-aged CGI Mark Hamill face. And at the start, we were like, this looks pretty good, and then he talked.
They should have just cut away. Like, we didn't need to see his... We saw his face. We know it's Luke. We didn't need to see him actively talk, and especially at such a close-up.
It was very close-up.
Their best bet would have just been, when he's talking to Grogu, just cut to Grogu. Or, you don't need to see his mouth, because the technology's just not there yet. And it was a bit jarring to see that. So...
They should have closed up right to his eyes, like, hard close. Yeah, I think I said this to you guys after we watched the episode. I'm like, yeah, it's not the best, but it personally didn't take me out of the experience. Like, I was like, you know what? I understand what you're trying to do. Yeah. It's not going to ruin anything for me. I've seen it done better, especially with the Robert Downey Jr. One in I forgot which movie it was it Civil War?
Yes.
Oh no, was it?
No. It was
Winter Soldier? No, fuck God, which one was it?
No. Yeah, it was Civil War.
It was Civil War. It was at the beginning of Civil War.
Yeah, I thought that one was really good.
Yeah,
but obviously, bigger
budget. Maybe it's a bit easier with someone, because how much did they de-aged RDJ compared to?
Yeah, I guess Robert Downey Jr. looks not as haggard as Mark Hamill does now.
They should have. Do you know what they should have done? Maybe make it a bit easier. Throw a fucking beard on him.
Like a small beard, mustache.
It's 10 years. It's been 10 years since episode 6. Why can't he have a bit of facial hair? Would that have made it more difficult? I don't really know.
Imagine if he had like a big, like bushy, just mustache.
Oh God. Give him
great bushy beard.
Big bushy beard. Yeah, give him some fucking facial hair, man.
Well, let's not consider. We all saw Justice League, did we not?
Oh, where they took the mustache off?
Where they took the mustache off of Henry Cavill?
Whoever they had stand in for Mark, because I read it wasn't Mark Hamill on set. They had some other guy, and they CGI'd Luke from episode 6 faces on there. So, because realistically, he hadn't aged since they took the same face from episode 6 and just smacked it on 10 years later. Like, I feel like they could have done a bit more to it than, because he looked realistically, he looked like he hadn't aged in 10 years.
I think they aged him just a tiny bit. Like, they made him look a little bit more stoic, maybe. And this is Luke in his prime too. This isn't like Jedi Luke. This is fucking Jedi Master Luke.
Yeah, exactly.
Jedi
Master Luke should have had a beard. Everyone's cool with a beard.
Although, in regards to the actual like facial thing, and they did cut away from him a couple times when he was talking, which we did appreciate, because obviously we didn't need to see the fucked up timing mouth movement. Yeah, but at the same time, I have to give it the benefit of the doubt, because like Rogue One, where we have like a full CGI Tarkin, the budget was like $200 to $250 million. Whereas
$150 billion. Oh my God,
that'd be a lot. I was reading the box
Star Wars movie ever.
So with 200 to 250 million as a budget, and then for a movie compared to obviously like a 47-minute TV show episode, I can understand why they might have needed to cut back a little bit and reserve budget for some other things, because there was a lot of special effects and sound design to go into this show. So I'm happy with what we got. I think they could have tuned it just a tiny bit more, like with the actual mouth movements, because it kind of looked like he was just like being like a ventriloquist at one point. But no, still either way, I'm okay with it.
And also this, like, obviously because his voice was like pre-recorded and recorded somewhere else, you can tell the voice quality wasn't the same as everyone else on set. I noticed that like a little bit. I'm just thinking about it now. Like if they were, say, everyone's like, Sebastian Stan. Why didn't Sebastian Stan play Luke? I think if it was anyone, even Sebastian Stan, that rose that hood, people would be confused, because they'd be like, is this Luke or is this someone new? Right. Unless Mando's like, Luke Skywalker, my friend. You know what I mean? Like, even if it was Sebastian Stan with like makeup, like a makeup to make him look more like Mark Hamill, I think you would have still been a little bit like, wait, is this Luke or not? So I think they might have had to do the full face.
I agree. I think you're right. I think they made the right decision.
Yeah.
It's just in this day and age, it's still difficult to pull off.
Do better.
But I also agree with you. It didn't ruin it for me, which I think that's all that you can ask for, realistically.
Mm-hmm.
But could you imagine how awkward it would have been if he's like, "Hey, I'm Luke Skywalker," and then you got like fucking Bo-Katan in the background, and who knows everything that fucking Anakin Skywalker, she served with him in the Clone Wars and everything.
Right.
And she's like, "Oh shit, what?
Who the hell are you?"
Imagine Grogu being like, "Hey, you know your dad killed like a bunch of my friends, right?"
Yeah, I was there. He murdered all these little children. They're my little friends.
Or imagine if like Grogu actually was like, "Oh, hey, Luke Skywalker."
Yeah. He actually speaks.
And then we get the emotional scene of Mando telling Grogu that don't be afraid, you can go with him, because he wants to take Luke, and then baby Grogu wants to see his face, and then he takes his helmet off. I'm like, oh my, it was so emotional. And then you get the baby Grogu music coming back. Oh, boys, did it really tug your heartstrings?
Oh yeah.
The first thing I can say is that it'll always be jarring to see Pedro without his mustache.
Yeah.
I was like, they should have just, look, he's under the helmet. He should have had facial hair. Give him a fucking mask. Does he take his helmet off to shave? Or does he just not grow facial hair?
Maybe Mandalorians don't grow facial hair anymore because they don't get any sunlight.
Maybe. The helmet just chafes him smooth.
Yeah, maybe it does.
But I think Pedro really brought that scene home.
Yeah.
The right amount, like there were no physical drop tears, but he was watering up. I think just the right amount where it just hit you right in the gut, where you felt that connection and how hard it was to let him go. But obviously he figured it was the right thing to do. And it was
it was beautiful acting because he's playing a character that's been pretty much a hard ass like his whole life, and grew up in a very difficult way, and now he's sort of like connecting with this child, and he's letting go some of his Mando ways. And I think if we get it, whatever happens in season 3, I think we'll get more of that.
Pascal? I fucking hope so. I love Pedro Pascal's my boy. I fucking love it. He need more helmet, mind you. Now he looked a bit weird standing there in the full gear with the helmet off, but give me more. I love Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Game of Thrones, Narcos. He just seems like a cool dude, man.
I hope he's enjoying playing Star Wars, because surely,
I think he is.
He started off small screen stuff, and then Game of Thrones, and then Narcos, and a couple of movies here and there, and now I mean, I think realistically, it doesn't get a lot much bigger than Star Wars, as much as people shit on it.
Yeah, Star Wars and Disney.
Disney and Star Wars that's where all the money goes and where all the money comes from. So,
and then the episode finished, and then you guys like, wait a minute, there's post-credit scene. Skip to it, and where are we, Divine? Where was the set again?
We are back on Tatooine.
We are back on Tatooine.
Tatooine, baby.
In Jabba the Hutt's little hangout. But it's not Jabba.
Jabba's palace.
It's a Bib Fortuna, who looks like he's taken over the reins a little bit, and he's got his little slave girl there, and he's like looking gross as always.
It looks like he's growing another Jabba the Hutt out of the side of his head.
He's gotten huge, dude. He's gotten huge.
Massive. He's fat as fuck.
Maybe it's a tumor or something. I don't know. From all the stress. And then we get a scene of someone walking down the stairs. Now, Divine, did you pick up on this connection with Return of the Jedi straight away? I think you did.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the way the camera was framed to not show who's coming down the stairs. And I was like, oh my god, like, are we seriously fucking back in Jabba's palace, dude? Like, this is awesome. But seeing Bib Fortuna actually kind of threw me off for a sec, because and he was voiced in that episode by the same dude who voiced General Grievous, apparently. But Bib Fortuna doesn't have a high voice, so I'd assume they made it high because obviously he's like fucking huge now. But I thought that Bib Fortuna was dead because he was on the sail barge in episode 6. So
out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. They didn't explicitly state that he was dead, so he's not dead.
Right. So, which is fine with me. I'm perfectly okay with that. And then to have him there, it's kind of like, Boba. It's like, oh, I thought you were dead. Because I think there might be something that we're gonna see in either the Boba show or season 3, that's gonna tie in, Boba's relationship with Jabba. Maybe I have no idea, because it didn't really seem like. Again, in the originals, they didn't really do much for Boba Fett.
No.
Especially Jabba, even when he was basically under Jabba's employment. So I'm hoping there's more there. But yeah, just to fucking have him so he's like, oh, I thought you were dead. Like a really nervous laugh, just fucking shoots him. He's like, get out of my chair.
He murders him. Everyone runs away, and he just sits he just sits down like an absolute freaking unit of a dude. And then it has the title, The Book of Boba Fett.
Yep.
Now, everyone kind of maybe assumes this is the start or tying in with a Boba Fett series, but people are saying that maybe the Boba Fett series might be the Mandalorian season 3.
I think it's possible. I suppose we just have to wait for more. I'd be disappointed from here on out if they from what we picked up from season 2. If then they turned Boba into a main villain of the season 3, I feel like that's not what I want to see. I'd rather if they're gonna do Boba, if they're gonna have Boba be Boba, I'd rather it be its own series.
Yeah,
I agree.
I wasn't keen on a Boba Fett series, but after seeing his performance throughout this season, I'm kind of keen to see what he does.
I think it'd be interesting, especially if they go with more ruling the underworld kind of vibe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which could be cool.
Yeah, he basically took over the criminal underworld of Jabba the Hutt. I don't know exactly what that entails, so to speak, but obviously Jabba the Hutt was literally a big and figuratively a big dude.
Well, obviously, looking at Bib Fortuna, Tamora Morrison's going to have to put on a lot of weight.
There you go. He's gonna have the armor's just gonna look even worse every episode.
Stretching out. It's just
what an absolute unit. So that's the end of season 2.
Can I just mention?
Yeah.
Does everyone in this fucking galaxy drink spatchka? It's fucking everywhere. Is that just everyone's decided?
It's
okay, we have one drink, and it's shipped across the whole entire fucking galaxy.
Yep.
It probably doesn't even taste good.
Every scene's like spatchka there. It's everywhere.
It's the Coca-Cola of the galaxy.
Do you remember that? Because they were when they were in episode in season 1 when they were farming that blue little fucking shrimp. Is that what they were making? Were they making spatchka?
Yes, actually, yes, you are correct. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, because it's basically krill.
Yeah.
To get them, yeah.
I was just like, it's fucking everywhere.
Disgusting.
Everyone drinks it's krill juice.
Everybody drinks spatchka, dude. Everybody drinks spatchka.
I mean, there was a war between all the alcohol companies, and spatchka only the company that makes spatchka survives.
There you go.
Maybe it has electrolytes. It's what the plants crave.
I wonder if it's like, do you reckon there's a corporation somewhere that mass produces it and ships it galaxy-wide?
Like a Coca-Cola Corporation?
Yeah, Coca-Cola Corp? Or is it like everyone just knows how to make spot? It's like one of those alcoholic drinks that probably tastes like shit, but it's super easy to make.
It's like moonshine.
And people can make it anywhere, so everyone just makes spatchka.
I can imagine just this corporation like Coca-Cola where they're neutral. No one touches them. No one attacks them or anything. People just like swiping in to go to work to make this fucking blue drink.
The spatchka delivery's here.
Oh, yes.
Fucking giant.
I want to see that. I want to see that story. Make that season 3.
Giant chip lands and all the unrolling crates and crates of spatchka that gets delivered everywhere.
Some dude with a fucking trolley Oh my god, little hat on.
They have to get it on the back of like a, I don't know, what are they fucking, what are those big creatures on Tatooine and drag it all the way out to fucking Bib Fortuna's palace?
Yeah, there you go.
By the crate.
Oh, that's what we need. That's the season we need. But
So good.
Could you imagine the logistics of shipping an alcoholic beverage galaxy-wide?
hey,
Would be fucking ridiculous.
maybe Disney makes it. Maybe Disney is canon in Star Wars.
I guarantee you, at their theme park, you could buy Spotchka. Guarantee it.
Oh no, I think you actually can. I think it's like legitimately like a
They have
glowing.
They have like a whole menu of stuff that you can buy. I would be surprised if Spotchka's not there somewhere.
Oh, what's it made of? Gatorade?
Out the Gatorade and a bit of vodka.
Let me verify if you can or not, because I think you can. I know that at like the Oga's Cantina in Galaxy's Edge, there are like a bunch of different drinks you can get.
No one drinks water. Everyone just drinks Spotchka. That's it.
I
Maybe
don't
that's why everyone
see
looks gross.
one. I don't see one specifically labeled Spotchka, but I know there's one for like the blue milk is one of them.
Gross.
And then they have an adult drink called the Fuzzy Tauntaun, which is peach vodka, peach schnapps, orange juice, and tangerine with pure cane sugar, with foam on top.
A fuzzy tauntaun. That sounds
Fuzzy Tauntaun.
That doesn't sound like a sexual position. I don't know what.
I thought it smelled bad on the outside.
You want to try the Fuzzy Tauntaun tonight, baby?
Oh,
No.
gross.
I want to try the Bib Fortuna.
Oh, it's even worse.
I don't even know what that is. But Divine,
Yeah.
where do we see Mando go from here? Like, does he try and like bring back his home planet, or what does he do?
Honestly, I don't know. Because it seems like Mando's under the impression, I guess Boba Fett is too, that Mandalorian is just fucked. Like the
Yeah.
Empire totally fucked up Mandalore as a planet. So in terms of backtracking real quick, in terms of thinking where season 3 is going to be, I don't think it's going to be Boba. I think all that is going to be his own show. I think season 3 is going to be is almost going to be like Civil War in a way, because
Ooh.
he's still got the Darksaber, and Bo-Katan is going to want that shit, and guaranteed they're going to bring her back. They're probably going to bring, well, I don't know if they will. They'll probably bring Ahsoka back for, well, I mean, at least for her own show.
Giving me more Katie Sackhoff, so I'm happy if she comes back
Yes.
as much as possible.
Yeah, I would assume that she's going to come back, and there's going to be some sort of civil war to fight for the Darksaber. Absolutely, 100%.
I mean, that's the only logical place I can see it go, especially with how they finished the season with Mando holding the Darksaber. Chris, do you agree with that? Could you think of anything else that they could do with Mando?
I suppose, because I mean, look, they could have ignored the Darksaber, but it seemed like it was a major plot point this season.
Yeah.
And it's obviously that, like, at the end of season 1, he was tasked with bringing Grogu back to the Jedi. Whether or not Grogu shows up again in season 3, which obviously I'm sure most people hope so, and I'm sure Disney will have to find a way, because otherwise, you know, the missing out on merchandising money would be ridiculous.
Yep.
And also, yeah, there's a part of me that would hope that he's not at the temple when all Luke's Padawans get killed or fucking whatever. So that's not his fate.
Hold on. Now we got somebody brought this up, and this really pissed me off that they brought this up, because they're probably right. Obviously Luke takes Grogu and goes off to train him, right? But unless he does master his abilities, as Luke put it, unless he does that, then theoretically, within the timeline of raising Kylo Ren, or somewhat down the line, unless Grogu becomes a master before then, or etc., most likely that would implicate that when Kylo Ren turns bad and burns down Luke's Jedi Temple, Grogu is there.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Which means I consider none of that canon anymore, and Grogu's alive happily somewhere.
Fair enough.
Smiling.
He's happy. He's alive and happily married.
Mind you, so what? How much do we know about Yoda's species? When?
Nothing.
Because how long before when is Kylo Ren born? Like, what's the timeline? Look, how many years do we have that he could potentially be with Luke Skywalker from the master his abilities? Because I assume he probably couldn't. If they grow to, if they was Yoda like 900 when he died.
Yeah, so he was 900.
At 50 years old, he's like 5. You know, so another 10 or so years, he's still not going to be able to look after himself.
Yeah, so in terms of when Kylo was born, he was born a year after the Battle of Endor, so a year after Episode 6.
So he's alive in the Mandalorian timeline.
So he's alive in that timeline.
Wow.
I think he's probably, theoretically, that would put him as he would almost be a Padawan at that point underneath Luke Skywalker. Yeah.
There's a part of me, because I've done it before, that hopes Disney comes out and says, you know what, 7, 8, 9, that's not canon. We're ignoring that now. That's not. I mean, there was so much expanded universe stuff that when they bought LucasArts, they said, no, fuck that shit. That's not canon. Only the movies and Clone Wars TV show is canon. So,
right.
Yeah, maybe they could say, hey, this is a future that could have happened, but we're ignoring it now. This is what really happened.
It's a parallel universe.
Because it's just, they ruined it. They fucking ruined it.
Yeah, it's just, it's so much. It's so much to like keep, it'd be so hard, even just like if you knew all the information, trying to keep this all together in one timeline, it'd give you a headache, to be honest.
Yep. I don't want my good Mando show to try and justify the garbage movies that came after it.
Well, I think they tried a little bit with the cloning stuff.
Yeah, I know, and I didn't like that shit. Fuck that. I don't want. Like, I mean, people always say that the Clone Wars really fleshed out the prequel movies, which, I mean, as 7 seasons of a TV show could do. But I found the prequels had their faults, as all movies do. No movies are perfect, but they told a consistent, coherent story throughout 3 movies. 7, 8, 9, as you can tell, I think are garbage. There's no consistency there. There's no character growth besides the only character out of all those 3 movies that's worth a fucking shit is Kylo Ren. He should have been. If they wanted to focus anything, should have just been about him. Rey can literally disappear, and it makes that movies better.
Yeah,
Savage.
I reckon Favreau, they literally wrote that line. The whole talent without training is. What does he say? Talent without training is worthless or meaningless?
He just says talent without training is nothing.
Yeah, which
I think nothing's a better word.
Was 100% a shot at Rey. She fucking picks up a lightsaber.
Yeah, I agree.
And basically defeats Kylo Ren in the first movie with no fucking training whatsoever.
Yeah,
her whole fucking character is just. I'm gonna stop talking about it. It's gonna make me mad.
They didn't think. I don't think they thought any of those sequel trilogies through, because I agree with you. Now that we've had all this stuff, it's like it's making those sequel trilogies like even harder to sort of stomach. But I reckon that's for a podcast episode in the future. So we're gonna wrap it up there before Chris gets too salty.
I'm signing off. I'm gonna be on me
has to drink some spotchka to cool himself off. But thank you everyone for listening to the first episode of the Pop Culture Appreciation Club. All of our social links will be down in the description below, and I guess we'll see you when we see you. Bye everyone.
All right.
Bye. May the force be with you.
You had to do it.